Welcome to Leaders Lead Podcast. Are you ready to conquer your challenges and achieve greatness? Join us as we dive into inspirational stories of industry leaders who have overcome adversity and reached new heights. Get ready for electrifying insights and captivating conversations that will ignite your passions for success. This is your go-to show for empowerment, growth, and leadership. Buckle up. Leaders Lead Podcast is here to take you on a transformational ride.
We'll jump back into your episode in a minute, but first let me ask you something. Are you great at what you do, but it still feels like no one really sees you as the go-to expert in your space? You're showing up, maybe putting out content, speaking on a few podcasts, but the visibility, the growth, the income, it still feels out of reach. That's exactly why I created the Experts Blueprint. It's a step-by-step system that I use to help coaches, consultants, and purpose-driven experts finally get visible, grow your loyal audience, and turn their message into income. Inside, I'll show you how to craft your story so people actually remember it, build a platform that works for you 24/7, and create content that builds trust and moves people into action. If you're ready to stop being overlooked and start getting the recognition, the results that you deserve, join the waitlist by emailing me at info@tonytaylorinspires.com. Let's build something real. Let's get you seen. Welcome back to your episode.
Hey, what's going on? This is Tony Taylor, and I am super excited to talk to you today. Today, what we're going to discuss is anxiety. I'm doing this episode because it is one of the things that I get contacted about the most, whether it is leaders that are politicians, leaders that are running big companies, small companies. It does not matter. Leaders that are at work, leaders that are at home, and then it's the anxiety. It's the fear of not so much what happened in the past, but maybe the fear of some things that they're afraid that's going to happen in the future, right? And I can relate to that. Ever since I can remember, I've walked around, lived, and breathed with anxiety. So today I want to talk about anxiety, but not just my own story, but also what the research says and a few practical things that you can do if you struggle with it, right? So with my story, all the way from the beginning, I knew something was not right. I would be with relatives, people that I love, people that I know that love me, people that supported me, but I would still feel weird. I would still sweat. I would start sweating profusely. I would get this thing to where I would have heart palpitations, or my heart sometimes would feel like it was beating out of my chest, almost like I was having a heart attack. My hands would tighten up. I would feel extremely, extremely dizzy, right? So if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I really cannot relate to that, think about the way that you feel if you have to get up on a stage to give a speech. All of a sudden, you don't know what the subject is about. You don't know the people. And in your head, all you can think about is the worst, right? And that's how I would feel almost 24/7. It showed up at school, and it also showed up at home. It showed up in work. But the way that I realized that it was anxiety, or just generalized anxiety, was, initially I thought in my brain, I'm not necessarily at that point wasn't tracking all the way from the beginning. I didn't have the wherewithal to know, like, oh man, I've been struggling with this my whole life. But what I thought it was just my fear of public speaking. But then when I started breaking that fear of public speaking, where I started speaking, and it was just, I was able to do it pretty easy. I was able to go on stage. I was able to do what it was that I was supposed to do, support people, talk about different subjects, leadership or whatever, right? I broke through the barriers of that, but I started noticing other things in my life where those feelings would come about where my heart would start beating really fast. My mind would start racing. I would start sweating. My hands would clench up. My mouth would hurt because it would be so tight. And I'm just like, no, man. And every little thing that I would get that too, I would just pinpoint it to that individual subject. Oh, it's public speaking, or was just networking meetings, or it's just when I go in this building. But then I started to realize it's not just in those moments. It's been that way. It's been that way my whole life. I remember having all sorts of fears. I remember having not just the fear of public speaking, but a fear of being seen in public. I had a fear of driving. I'll never forget this moment for, as long as I live. I was so super excited to get my driver's license, and I studied the book, knew everything in the book. I did all the road tests, but when it was time for me to get on the highway, that was the hardest thing, one of the hardest feats ever. And I just remember again, my freaking chest racing. I remember my hands gripping the steering wheel so freaking tight. I mean, gripping it so tight that I would see the lines on my hands, and it would be red. And it's just like, man, what is it? Right. But in that moment, in that moment that I started thinking about all of these different things, that's when I start putting together that it wasn't just the small moments or just the big moments. It was all moments. It was generalized anxiety disorder. And let me tell you, I got treatment for it. Of course, the way that Western society treats anxiety is the way that they treat everything, right? They give you medicine. It was right when I came from the Marine Corps. My sister noticed something in me. She noticed that I was, hella anxious. She noticed that I was sweaty. She noticed that I was very irritable and kind of jumpy. So she took me to the doctor, and I think they put me on like Lexapro or something like that. But man, I went probably, I would say, the next 20 years of my life off and on of those different types of medications, right? And I can't even say that stuff helped me. I can't say that it helped me because it didn't. It blunted some things, but it made me get worse symptoms. Like I took beta blockers. So what that would look like, that would stop my head from sweating, but my mouth would be really dry. It was just all these different things that I tried. But what I was doing was I was searching on the outside instead of searching on the inside. Like, what is it inside of me? Like, why do I have these fears that I have? And, what happens when I actually face them? Just like with public speaking, just like we're driving and other things, when I face those individual fears, they subsided. They didn't completely go away, but it made things a lot more tolerable. But what if I face this anxiety as a whole? What are some things that I can do that can support me as a whole so that when I get to that point, so I don't even have to get to that point where I'm having anxiety. So what I started to do was I started to exercise. That was one thing that I thought that was really cool. And when I started doing these things, it wasn't because I just know what to do to make these things go away. It was just like, oh man, I needed to escape these thoughts, and I'm just try any and everything. So I went back to one of my childhood loves, and that was riding my bike. So I getting some exercise that helps. It took me a long time to get into journaling, but journaling actually helps. If I'm feeling a certain type of way, I feel like, oh my God, it's doom and gloom coming. I'll start writing in my journal, and I'll feel better, right? Deep breathing exercises, that works. Just taking some deep breaths, box breathing. You could look that up. You can look that up, and actually, I'll put a link to box breathing and in the description for this episode. And I'll also drop in meditation that I created for anxiety. It works really, really good. So listen to the box breathing exercise and also listen to the meditation exercise. So I tell you all this not to dump my experiences, not to dump the trauma that I went through with my anxiety, or just to tell my story, just to tell it. I want you to know that if you're struggling, you're not weak, you're human. And there are ways that you can overcome this. I'm not saying that it's going to always, there's something that you can do, or these things that I mentioned, if you do them, that it's going to automatically go away. It's going to take some work, right? So there's the different things that you can use. There's an app called BetterHelp. If you want to talk to a therapist, you can get with NAMI for different groups. They definitely have groups for things like anxiety, depression, and all different types of avenues that you can take to work on your mental health. And I'm going to drop the meditation link in the comments. And yeah, and if you're listening to this and you're just like, man, it's been a part of my life, my whole life, and there's no way that I can get over it. There's no way that I can master these fears or master these thoughts that I have. Use my story for an example of that. I have, always had the fears that I've had, always been in these situations where, man, I just can't speak in public, but then I turn around and I'm a motivational speaker for a living, right? That's me facing those fears. And I want to encourage you to face the fears that you have. So it doesn't have to be public speaking. It doesn't have to be meetings or networking. You can have, and I know people that have a fear of just going outside, but I want you to know that if you just take one step, and that could be reaching out to those resources, clicking on the link that I'm going to give you. That could be just stepping outside. That could be raising your hand to do something that you fear, as long as it's healthy, but raise your hand and do something that you fear. That's the way that we fight this anxiety. That's the way that we continue to keep going in our fight, to continue to keep going in your fight. So again, if you have any questions on anxiety, have any questions on my story, some of the resources that I gave you, please feel free to reach out. I just felt really compelled to talk about that today. So I'll see you later. And thank you for listening to me on Leaders Lead the Podcast. Thank you for allowing me to travel with you on your journey. I want to say thank you for the things that you're doing, the things that you've done, and the things that you're going to do, because I know that you're going to do something truly amazing. Remember, I'm here to stand by you as you chase your dreams, lead with greatness, and continue to make a difference. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you can be notified every time we drop a new episode. I'll see you next time on Leaders Lead the Podcast. Peace.